Today's episode, we are back with Paulina Pinsky. I don't know if you follow her on Instagram. She's at Ms. M-I-Z Piggy 111. She was a very competitive ice skater her whole childhood. And she's posted some clips of herself ice skating on her Instagram page. And ice skating back when she was younger and competitive. And also now she went ice skating again for the first time in 11 years recently and has posted some videos of herself ice skating. And I just thought it was amazing. I thought it was so brave to walk back into the sport you haven't even thought about. Well, not that she hasn't thought about it, but she hasn't done in any capacity for 11 years. And I just love the videos. She has so much joy skating. She falls in one of the videos and she's just getting a big kick out of herself. And I just loved it. So I wanted to talk to her about ice skating. And boy, oh boy, was it a complex conversation. She has a lot of feelings around that sport. Good, bad, ugly, indifferent, amazing, horrible. So it ended up being a very good, deep conversation. Yeah, and of course we talked about other things also. We talked about gratitude and her being sober for over 100 days. And you know, my conversations with everybody is never about just one thing, but this one is mostly about ice skating. And I think it's a very good conversation. So thanks for coming back every week. Thanks for all your emails. I love the suggestions for book club books. I love the suggestions for episode ideas. I read all of them and I try to work on some of them that I feel would be good. So thank you for that. Keep them coming. Hope you enjoyed today's episode with me and the lovely Paulina Pinsky.
It is hotter than sin outside.
Blue blazes, as they say in the South. Hot as blue blazes.
Well, blue is the hottest part of the flame.
Exactly. That's why that saying came to be. I'm sure hot as blue blazes.
Ooh, are these new pillows?
No.
How did I not notice them before?
I don't know.
I love soft things.
You do?
I really do.
I do too.
I'm very
tactile.
Very tactile.
Yeah. My youngest daughter's very tactile.
Yeah.
But not for soft things. She likes rough things. She likes the cheapest t-shirt you can buy, the one that's like sandpaper. That's her favorite.
I'm the opposite.
Yeah, most people are. She also came in the other day and said, so I'm thinking about taking pole vaulting classes. And I went, what? They teach pole vaulting class? She's like, yeah, I have a feeling I'd be really good at it. I was like, why? You're 5'2". I mean, come on. What are you talking about? She was like, I just think I might be really good at it. So is it okay if I take pole vaulting lessons? And I went, well, yeah, of course. Let me see if I can find that. I mean, I guess you'd have to think you have to be taught somehow to pole vault, right?
It always looked like the most fun track and field event.
It definitely looked like, to me, the most kind of like brain challenge. There's too much geometry.
Yeah.
So much geometry in that. Right?
Not for me.
I can't do geometry for shit.
No.
Algebra all day. Geometry, and I was like, what? I cheated off Jay Truitt. Sorry, Jay. Cheated off Jay Truitt in geometry every single day.
Oh, my God.
And I never cheated in high school. The only class I ever cheated in was geometry. So thanks, Jay. He's a good guy. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm a little tired.
Are you?
But not to a degree that is debilitating or anything.
Yeah.
I've just been doing a lot.
Yeah. And it's hot as hell.
It is. It is. And I don't know. I launched my newsletter.
You did?
I did.
Wait, did I miss it?
I don't know. So I have a new newsletter. It's called Newly Sober.
I don't know. Do I have to subscribe to it?
Yeah.
Okay, then I missed it. So
okay,
tell
I'll send
me
you
how.
the link.
No, how?
On Substack. I think the link is also in my Instagram bio.
Oh, okay, I'll look.
But yeah, so I launched that. I launched my Patreon.
Nice.
I'm doing a weekly writing empowerment workshop.
Love it.
On Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern.
How do people find it?
They will find it on my Instagram bio, or if you search my name in Patreon. For a Patreon amount, there's different tiers on Patreon. But if you subscribe to that tier, you're you are allowed into my weekly workshop. Every week of the month, we do something different. So the first week of the month, we do a literature study. Second week of the month, we do some sort of like craft thing. So this week we're going to be looking at commas and how to use them.
Oh my God. Yep. I love commas.
Do you? Me too.
And I am blown away at how people do not know how to properly use a comma.
Yeah. It's hard. It's like,
I don't think it's hard. Why is it hard?
I think it's hard because I feel like you have to understand like independent and dependent clauses. You also like, I think
Is it the geometry of English?
It might be. Yeah, seriously. Did you diagram sentences?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So people aren't taught that anymore. People were being taught that in my graduate school for the first time.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, I learned it in 7th grade.
Mine was 3rd grade.
Yeah.
And then repeated again in 5th and then repeated in 7th.
Well, it's super important, but they don't teach it anymore.
That's insane.
That's why people don't know where
my
to put
kids
commas.
learned it. My kids diagram sentences.
Really?
Well, they would underline like the dependent or the independent clause. They would underline so they at least knew that. They didn't diagram like we did, but
yeah, no. Diagramming was in my graduate level.
That's insane.
And people were doing it for the first time. Wow. Which was mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, I'm blown.
Yeah. And so if you diagram sentences growing up, you know where the comma goes.
Yeah, it's like second nature almost.
Mm-hmm. And I really think that like when I think about grammar, I think about like commas and periods sort of as like in comparison to music. Like it's just about where you're supposed to breathe and take breaks.
Interesting.
And so obviously there are rules to commas, but I think when I think about using commas, I think about like where I need to take a breath, like sort of like the movement of the sentence rather than what's right or wrong. And usually like if you're pausing naturally, that's usually where the comma is supposed to be.
Yeah, totally.
And so we're going to be doing that this week.
Well, I'm going to sign Bert up for that because I don't think he's ever been introduced to a comma.
Amazing.
That guy, every sentence just goes constantly and there's no pause ever. And then when you're at the end of it and then he asked me to read it back to him and I'm like, ba la 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 ba da 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 da. And he goes, that sounds terrible. And I go, let me just put the commas in. And then I'll read it again. And when I put the commas in, it sounds right. And he's like, that's amazing. I'm like, yeah, dude, you can do it all by yourself. Oh my God. Just a little comma.
He's lucky to have a good editor.
He is lucky to have a good editor. You should have read his book. Oh my Lord. God. When he wrote that book. Oh yeah. It's called Life of the Party. He wrote a book of, I guess they're kind of essays or short stories about his life.
No way.
He did. It's been out for a while now, Life of the Party. And then that's why Wife of the Party came from Life of the Party. And I edited that book for him unofficially. Yeah. I wasn't paid to be his editor, but he would give me a chapter and I'd be like, you used the word that 4 times in one sentence. I am losing my mind. He would go, that guy that went to that place that sold that pizza that I liked. God. And I'd be like, ah, you can have one that per sentence. Oh, one that. So go back and rewrite the sentence and choose your that. Right? So you can replace it with the, you can replace it with an adjective. You can replace it with a noun. It drove me bananas. That was my biggest complaint was the word that.
Well, I'm dying to read that.
I know, right? I'll give you a copy. I don't think we have one here, but I'll get you one.
Beautiful.
It's a good book.
Yeah, I bet. It
was good.
Yeah, and 3rd week of the month, I'm gonna have a guest lecturer.
Okay.
And then 4th week of the month is like free write, like fun prompt, basically.
And then does it repeat?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, because people would reach out and be like, I want to do writing coaching, but they didn't necessarily have the ability to financially back it. Mm-hmm. And I want to offer this option so that people can work with me and then also meet other people who are trying to write as well.
Sure.
And so it's not just it's for any writer, like beginner, middle, intermediate, whatever. Like, I really just want to help facilitate community. And so people don't feel alone. And there's so many people out there trying to write and they're just afraid to start. And I'm just like, here are the keys to the kingdom. Like,
yes,
really thinking about writing as sort of an act of empowerment, rather than an obligation or
a burden.
Yeah. Because like writing is so fundamental to who I am. Mm-hmm. Like I wake up every day, a la Julia Cameron. I do 3 pages stream of consciousness as my morning pages. And now I literally journal before bed too.
That's great.
Yeah. And I just started this week getting up at 5:55 to write every morning. That's probably why I'm tired.
That's probably why you're tired. Yeah.
But I feel great because I actually got some writing done today.
That's awesome.
So yeah, there's a lot, like now I'm like at day 100, like I'm not new anymore. And it's sort of just like, what habits do I want to have in place for the next 100 days?
Right.
So
that's cool.
Yeah.
I started a habit Monday.
Yeah, what is it? I started mine Monday too.
I started a habit Monday. So my friend Kelly Brown wrote this book, 100 Ways to Say Thank You.
Amazing.
She's this is her 3rd edition. I love this book. And I committed to writing a thank you note every day for 30 days.
Wow.
Because, gratitude. And I was like,
gratitude
I don't
is an attitude.
Really sit down and handwrite thank you notes as much as I would like. And I know, right? It's a great book. So I've done that every day since she left. I've written a thank you note a day. And I have to tell you, it's pretty freaking awesome.
I love that
4
idea.
sentences. I'm like, I just need a 4-sentence minimum. It can be longer, but I want at least 4 sentences in each thank you note. So far, I've written one to Georgia, one to Isla, one to Bert, and I haven't written one yet today.
That's gorgeous.
It's kind of a cool practice.
It is. I mean, I do multiple gratitude lists.
Yeah.
I have like one with like my sober sisters and my sponsor. And then I do one with this man that I met once, like in my early days of sobriety. And then I do it in my nightly journal.
That's great.
Because it's important to stay in gratitude because it's easy to not.
Grace.
And this is like really actually an amazing resource. Like,
yeah, that's what I said. I said, I feel like this is like a toolkit.
Yeah.
Because she breaks it down. And not that we wanted to talk about another author's writing. I didn't mean that, but
no. Please, let's do it. I like promoting other people. I'm like, we're not in competition.
Well, of course, no, absolutely not. But I was like, this is so great, especially for someone who has an overwhelming amount of thank you notes, like a graduate, or someone who has a funeral, or someone who's a wedding, or a baby shower.
As someone who's like both taught like freelance and like at the collegiate level and to high schoolers, people do not know how to write or address professors or teachers. They have no idea.
Really?
Yeah. I had to, when I was teaching at LAM college, I had to be like, this is how you address a professor. I say, dear Professor so-and-so, you do a greeting, you tell them what you need, you say thank you, and you sign it. Because you would get these like emails that were like all lowercase, like I need this from you or whatever.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so
that's crazy,
isn't it?
The casualness of life now, I think, is in some ways really awesome, and in some ways really not.
I mean, it's interesting because it's like obviously like I understand how to write letters to different people because of my education, but also I think there is something to be gained by formality in that like when you're addressing a teacher, you're respecting that person.
Sure.
And
acknowledging that they're the master, you're the student, so to speak.
Yeah.
Master in that they master in they
yeah. I mean,
knowledge.
It's funny to like think of myself as the master because I'm just like, I don't know anything. But
okay, how about Jedi?
I'm the grammar Jedi.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, it's like when I was teaching at LAM, I had one student turn in a paper and it was all in lowercase and there was no punctuation on it.
What?
And I had to pull her aside and be like, listen, like I'm going to give you another chance to do this because if you do this on a resume, you're not going to get the job.
No.
And she was like a junior or something.
Was it an artistic choice?
No.
Okay.
I was having them do transcripts, which they didn't want to do. I was like, I teaching them how to write profiles. And so they had to interview someone and then I would make them transcribe it because that's just like the worst task. But it's so important to learn that skill. And so she just typed it out and like didn't proofread, didn't do anything. And like now I know to clarify, like this needs to like have capitals and periods and things like that. But
you would think that goes without saying.
Right. And I learned that that's not the case.
Today. That's crazy. Yeah, I'm surprised at how many people don't write thank you notes and stuff like that. And luckily, I don't know how Georgia addresses her teachers, but Isla has needed help throughout the years with school in general. And that's something I've been really adamant about is how you type an email to your teacher.
Yeah, that's good.
There's nothing casual about it.
No.
There shouldn't be any goofy, jokey. That's just not how you do. I always have her say, hope you have a nice day.
Gorgeous.
Always thank you so much, obviously, but always something else that's a well wish thank you for your time.
Yeah.
And also thank you for answering this question, but something extra.
Yeah.
Just because it makes people feel so good when you just do just a little bit extra. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be that much.
Yeah.
Just a little
It's
bitty
just
bit.
moving your fingers a little.
It takes 1 minute, maybe.
Are
every
your
time.
thank you notes handwritten?
Yeah.
That's gorgeous.
They're handwritten. And I bought thank you cards the color of your shorts. They're hot pink. And they have a unicorn that has a rainbow mane. I am so excited about the thank you cards because I was like, these are the happiest things. There's no person who could open this and go, meh. You have to open it and go, that's funny. I can't believe Leanne sent me that thank you card.
I love
loved them.
that.
Well, I just thought they should be fun because they're really, this 30 days of thank you cards is really just gratitude. It's not for a gift or a deed someone did per se. You know, you didn't like give me a back rub, so I'm giving you a thank you card.
Yeah.
It's just me sitting down and saying thank you to 30 people 30 days in a row because I'm going to say thank you.
Gratitude is an attitude.
Gratitude is an attitude. And it just really, that handwritten note is.
Writing by hand is so important.
It is.
Like, obviously, big artist way Stan over here. Like, gonna be leading people through the summer, actually. I'm gonna do June through August.
Nice.
So people can sign up for that.
Good. We'll do another scholarship.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, of
that would be
course.
amazing.
Yeah, happy to.
But there's something really beautiful about taking the time to like think about sending good intentions to somebody. And in the artist way, one of the weeks you're supposed to write like 5 postcards to 5 people and like throughout it you like send mail, and there's something so satisfying about sending mail.
Yeah,
like I
there
love
is.
sending mail.
I love sending mail too.
Yeah.
And don't you love getting mail?
Oh, it's the best.
I got Halston's save the date card in the mail this week, and I was so excited because he and Brooklyn look so pretty, and I was like, oh, I'm putting that up on my bulletin
That's
board.
beautiful.
I have to wait a whole year to go to the wedding, but I'll look at that pretty picture.
That's gorgeous.
I will be excited about it. So, tell me about ice skating. I died when I saw you ice skating on Instagram. I literally almost started crying.
Really?
It was, yes, I was so proud of you. I was so proud. You know how scary it is for someone who is an expert, a master at what they do, to go back to it later? That's really brave. Did you feel brave?
It's interesting because like do you know who Mariah Nagasu is?
No.
So she's the American figure skater who landed the triple axel at the Olympics.
Oh, okay.
And we started ice skating together when we were
No
5.
way.
And we became friends after she went to the Olympics. And I was like talking about how I wanted to go skating. She was like, I'll give you a pair of skates. Like whatever pair of skates you want, I'll get whatever. And so she FaceTimed me once when she was home. She had like a literal parrot on her shoulder. And she left her skates at her parents' sushi restaurant in Arcadia, and I went and picked them up.
Amazing.
And this was like early on in my sobriety. So I think it was like week 4 of Artist Way or something. I went and did a public session at the Pasadena ice rink with my childhood best friend who got me into ice skating.
No way.
And I couldn't do anything. Like I couldn't even do a 2-foot spin. I could barely stand up straight. Like I was so deeply humbled by that.
Were you?
I could just like, because part of me, because for years, like after I stopped skating when I was like 18, like officially, really 17, but 18 was like hard stop. Once I went to college, I was like, shut the door. I can't even think about it. I can't even address it.
Right.
And so it was almost kind of good that happened, because then I came to it like really thinking of myself as a beginner, where it was just like, you know what? That's what happens when you take 11 years off.
Yeah.
And like ice skating is a sort of sport where if you take one day off, the next day you feel it. Like I wasn't even allowed to swim growing up because it would lengthen my muscles and I couldn't jump the next day.
No way. That's crazy.
Yeah. So it requires like an insane level of dedication that like I had obviously not done for the past 11 years. So wearing Mariah's skates, like wearing the skates of the Olympian who landed the triple axel at the Olympics, like number one, I was like, yeah, I'll wear those skates.
Yeah.
But also like they weren't my skates.
Yeah.
And so I ended up getting my own skates sharpened, and then I could do things.
How crazy.
Yeah. And so I think because I came to it and like really thought of myself as someone who could not do anything, I was able to sort of get back into the muscle memory of it a little bit, in boots that fit me.
Right.
Yeah.
That and when you are humbled,
Mhm.
then you become, I think, more curious,
Definitely.
you know?
Well, it was such a ego trip. Every time I would like go skate in college, I'd be like, oh, well, I should be able to do this thing. And I'd like throw myself into something and fall hard and be like, I can't do anything. And it was just like, I was comparing myself to someone who was like dedicated their whole life to it.
Mhm.
And so I pretty much stopped going because it would bruise my ego too much.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, I definitely didn't think ice skating again would be part of my trajectory. Like, did not see that coming at all. And like part of the reason I went back is because my childhood skating coach, Erica, just kept being like, you have to get on the ice. Like, let's go. I want to see you. I want to see you. Because I would
Yeah.
like sometimes in college come back and I would like skate around with her and do some jumps or whatever. And so because she kept nudging me and sort of like sobriety sort of reopened the door to all of my childhood skating friends that like actually were my friends. I was just like, fuck, I want to go. Like, I want to see what it feels like. So thank you for saying that. Cause it's, I'm not coming to it with any sort of expectation.
Right.
And I've been back now 3 times. And each time I've gone, I just feel stronger and better and like more sure of myself. And it's just like, it's amazing how the body remembers. Like, so I started skating when I was 5. My childhood best friend, Jackie, was taking lessons at the Pasadena ice rink, which at the time was a like 1920s ballroom that they converted into an ice skating rink.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. So it was like half a sheet of ice. It wasn't even like traditional NHL or Olympic size. And they had these like stained glass chandeliers that were like covered in cobwebs, and like the light would shine in and like it would like the steam would rise off the ice. It was a really cool rink, but it was also disgusting.
Yeah.
Like, falling apart. Like, a lot of the parents there got cancer, actually.
What?
Yeah, like it was like probably like
What?
Yeah, it was like a toxic site basically. Yeah,
Oh
so
my
we'll
God.
see how my health fares. And so Jackie was skating, and her mom told my mom, and my mom was like, can we all come? Like, please take them. So my brothers and I all started skating together. We started taking ice skating classes. And I think Douglas like fell and hit his head and he was like, I'm out. I was like, I'm not doing this. And Jordan petered out, and then Jackie and I stayed in it. And it was sort of like, I think the first thing that differentiated me from my brothers. And it's something that I think I'm now able to recognize that I just loved. Like, I just enjoyed it. I just liked the feeling of it. And for a long time after I quit, I couldn't access that love because what it became was an unyielding obligation. And sort of like my illness was a product of my dedication to it.
Right.
And so I think that's sort of why I like had to shut the door on it for so long, because by the end of it, I was just like,
you were off in a ditch as a person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it was interesting, like when I was like open about my eating disorder and like writing about it, like I couldn't even address the cultural element, which was figure skating. And obviously my mom and my relationship was very centered around figure skating. But I think the piece that was missing was just like the toxicity of the sport itself. And that being said, like putting ice skates on and hitting the ice isn't a toxic endeavor.
No, totally no.
But it's the people and the competition and like the demand for perfection and the desire to be thin and everybody.
Yes. It's similar to gymnastics, I would imagine.
For sure.
Or ballet.
Oh my God. Yeah.
know.
But I think what's interesting, because for years I kept like trying to pitch places to like write about ice skating and sort of like do these exposés about ice skating, and no one is interested in blowing up the facade, because I think it's something that only comes into popular consciousness once every 4 years. And so people are fine with it, sort of like there's always inherent drama in ice skating, but there's investment in sort of this like ice princess thing.
It's an illusion, really, that we all enjoy watching. I love watching ice skating.
It's brilliant.
But I know, I don't know from personal experience, but I had a friend when I lived in New York who was an ice skater.
Really?
Yes,
Where did he skate?
I have no idea. But we became friends because he started skating he skated professionally, like after competitively. He then
Ooh.
started skating for like Disney on Ice. And then he started skating on like cruises.
Yep, that's what you do.
And then he started, the reason I got to know him was he was working at the Rockefeller Christmas Spectacular
Amazing.
as a skater. So they had a little ice skating pond, the quote pond. It was like plastic or something that he skated on.
They put baby oil on plastic.
Yes, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to be really good friends. And I mean, the stuff he would go through to skate, I'd be like, wow, this is so intense.
Mhm.
And what an athlete you have to be. And, you know, some people may say, well, duh, no shit. But I don't know how to describe it. It's so intense.
Mhm.
And it's all encompassed. Every minute of his day was about that, like 5 minutes on the ice at the Rockefeller Center.
Yep. Yeah.
Crazy.
It's interesting because I think someone recently described ice skating as dangerous dancing. And I thought that was really funny. I was like, how did I not think of that? But it's something that like, it's inaccessible unless you're in it. Because if you watch the movies about it, it's either like I, Tonya. I love I, Tonya.
Oh,
Like the
great
mom with
movie,
the
yeah.
parrot on her
Mhm.
shoulder. Like that is a quintessential ice rink mother.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, really? Like, and it's like, no, like people in ice skating, and I mean this like peace and love. Like I'm not like out to get anybody, but everyone in ice skating is insane. Like certifiably insane. And
everybody in ice skating's insane.
Yeah.
Everybody in comedy's insane.
true.
So
Well, I can't watch Dance Moms because I lived it. You
Oh,
know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
the mothers in the ice rink set the tone.
yeah.
And yeah, it's and I think, you know, when it comes to like ice skating movies or whatever, it's always people who never were in the sport writing it.
Mhm.
So that they're sort of like enamored with the veneer of like the Ice Prince, like even the movie Ice Princess.
Mhm.
It's like they'll touch on the eating disorder aspect, but they don't get it. Like
Yeah,
they
yeah,
don't
yeah,
they check off the mark, you know, whatever,
Mhm.
but it's like that's not what it feels like.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah,
just about eating salad,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
So started at Pasadena Ice Rink, skating with my best friend. And I think what was sort of distinct about me is that I never had the Olympic dream.
Mhm.
And I think that's because I came into the rink because of my best friend.
Mhm.
Whereas like all the other girls, every 4 years, they would see the Olympics and then they would come into the rink. Like every 4 years, there was like always new people.
Right.
And so everybody in the rink had the Olympic dream.
Mhm.
And
And what was your dream?
so there was one other girl in my first grade class who was an ice skater. And she told everybody that she was going to the Olympics and I wasn't.
Oh, Lord.
And we're 7. And someone walks up to me and they're like, this girl said she's going to the Olympics and you're not. What do you think? And I was like, I'm not going to the Olympics. I'm going to college.
Right?
Like that's as a 7-year-old,
Yeah.
I was like, my dream is college.
Mm-hmm.
I know college is my destiny kind of
Mhm.
thing. And yeah.
Do you think it was your mom's dream for you to go to the Olympics?
No.
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 She just wanted you to be excellent in the sport.
Yeah. I think, I don't think she would ever articulate it this way, but sometimes she says things that I'm like, this is absolutely what was happening. When I was born, she held me in her hands and said, I'm going to give you everything that I never had.
Aww.
And I think that she played out a fantasy through me a little bit.
Interesting. I can totally relate to that.
Yeah.
Yes, I can totally relate to that. I looked at my 2 kids and said, you will have everything I didn't have also.
Yeah.
My kids just, if either of my kids had gotten hardcore into a sport,
Yeah.
I would have been hardcore into that sport.
Yeah.
But they just didn't. And I offered them many opportunities to try lots of different things.
Yeah.
And nothing really stuck for them. But I could
Yeah.
see, like, they tried tennis, they tried softball, they tried golf. George's now playing lacrosse.
Yeah.
They never really nothing really caught fire, so
Yeah.
to speak. So nothing caught fire for me. But if something had caught fire for them, you better believe we'd be at everything all the time. And what's a problem with that is that the culture of the sport sets the tone and the parent has to keep up,
Yeah.
or then the parent's failing.
Well, I think that's a really important distinction because, like, compared to all the other mothers, my mom looks sane. She's not. We all know it. No,
She's
I love
kind
her.
of fabulous.
She's wonderful,
Yes.
and like we're friends now. But also, like, she's a perfectionist. My father's a perfectionist, and I'm a perfectionist.
Yeah.
So, like, by the time I was really competitive, you know, like my dress, I had like $500 custom dresses, and I had 7 coaches, and she was driving me to the rink every morning. And, you know, like we were in it.
You were in
I
like a
was,
machine.
yeah. But when I was very little, like, you know, it was like playful still, you know, and I always looked like my hair was always perfect. My costume was always like fun. I loved performing. Like I
Yeah,
just
you can tell.
I loved it. And I
Yeah.
still do. Like I'm a performer through and through. And it's interesting because like when I was in college, I did like musical theater. And so people knew me as a performer. But people had like I would whip out these videos sort of as like a party trick. You know what I mean? But like my whole life was ice skating.
Right.
And so I'm like getting burpy. My esophagus is like, we're talking about it. Oh no.
They're stirring things up in the belly, in the meat of the monster, stirring it up.
Yep. My
That's what
esophagus
happens.
is an emotional beast.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Cuts. Have you heard of Cuts? If you haven't heard of Cuts, I think you should seek them out. It's a men's clothing line. They sell t-shirts, Henleys, long sleeve t-shirts. And I don't know, they've developed their own fabric that's really soft, but it also has some weight to it. So you feel like it's a really nice shirt. Even though it's the style of a t-shirt, it kind of lays on a man's body like a nicer shirt. It's a shirt that you could wear to dinner or date night. I love this line of clothing because they also have great colors. It's not just a black or a white shirt. They have like greens and burgundies and dark blues, and they're all kind of subtle, nice colors. You can dress this up, dress it down. I can't imagine any guy not liking anything they get from Cuts. Their patented fabric, it won't shrink, it doesn't pill, it doesn't fade. I mean, it's just really high quality. I got this bag of clothing in the mail because they were a podcast sponsor, and the hoodie was stolen immediately by Isla Kreischer, who wears it all the time. It is such a cool hoodie. It has like an interesting angle in the pocket, and it's just, it doesn't, I mean, it's a hoodie. It looks like a hoodie, but it doesn't really even look like a hoodie. Isla wears it constantly. Bert didn't even get to take a look at it because she took it. So make your next gift the best ever with Cuts Clothing. Get 15% off your first order by going to cutsclothing.com/wife. That's cutsclothing.com/wife for 15% off the only shirt worth wearing. Also today, this episode is brought to you by HelloFresh. How many times can I say it? I love HelloFresh. So we are going on vacation for spring break, and we are going to a place that has a kitchen. And guess what I'm bringing with me? My cooler of HelloFresh. Because now I know I have 3 meals for our family that I don't have to worry about. I don't have to order in. I don't have to buy ingredients. I got 3 meals done. I love that about HelloFresh. It's versatile. If you want to skip a week, you can if you go on vacation. Instead, I'm taking my week with me, which I think is pretty fantastic. You can choose different types of menus. You can have a quick and easy menu, a family friendly menu. You can have fit and wholesome recipes. They're nutritious and they're very satisfying. The portions to me, sometimes I'm like, I can't even finish my portion. We almost always have leftovers that we end up eating the next day in our lunchbox, or not mine, but in my kids' lunchbox going to school. I love that these are farm to doorstep, fresh ingredients, organic ingredients. You have 50 different weekly options to choose from. You can skip weeks, like I said, when you need to. If you're going on vacation, just push pause. And then when you get back, you push unpause, and it comes right back into action. My kids cook for me now because they use these easy to follow, simple recipes. And I think this is how they're learning to cook. It's not really from me. It's from HelloFresh. Go to HelloFresh.com/wife16 and use code wife16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. That's right. You just go to HelloFresh.com/wife16 and use code wife16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. America's #1 meal kit.
When I was a little kid, it was just like something I did pretty much, I think, like 3 to 5 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
And at a certain point I switched rinks because Pasadena was just too small. And so I started skating at Pickwick Ice Arena in Burbank.
Mm-hmm.
And I had 2 amazing gay dude coaches,
Mm-hmm.
Larry and Grant. Grant was my choreographer and Larry was my main coach. I didn't know they were gay. I went up to Larry one day and I was like, why aren't you married? You're my mom's age. And my mom had to be like, honey, Larry and Grant are married, but they're not married, but they're married. And I was like, okay, yeah, chill.
Right.
And so it was like very fun and playful and like, you know, I had my 2 gay dads, you know? And then my body started to change. And that's like when the trouble started. And you know,
what trouble?
In that coaches started saying things like she needs to lose weight. You know, like now I can see it as like I was just becoming a woman, and that in figure skating is threatening because if you are in a female body that is developed, you can't jump and spin in the same way. Which is why when you go to the Olympics, like, or you watch the Olympics, most of those girls like are deliberately stunted to stay 12, 13, 14, whatever.
Right.
And whatever, whether that's starvation, whether that's, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if people are doing like hormone stuff. Like I wouldn't be surprised.
Right. So crazy.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane.
You know, it's not real. It's that's the hard part. That's why in baseball, Barry Bonds has, I think, like an asterisk because he was freaking, or whoever the baseball player is who hit all those home runs, but was also like doping.
Yeah.
So it's doping to starve yourself, essentially.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cheating.
It's interesting because I recently just saw. Well, so around that time, Larry and Grant moved to Arizona. So I had a new coach, Erica.
Okay.
And Erica became my main coach. And her mom, Barb, was my ballet teacher. And Barb was like in the American theater ballet. Like she toured as a ballerina around the world.
Wow.
And so I saw her recently. She's like 90. And she said to me, she was like, why is it that the heaviest people seem light on their feet? And I'd never heard her say anything like that because like, I'm going back to the rink. I'm way bigger than I was before, but like, I don't feel bigger. I don't feel like
you don't move big.
No, I don't feel mired by my weight.
You
at all.
No, you don't move in any way, shape, or form like you are unhealthy in any way, shape, or form.
And when I was healthy,
yeah, totally.
That
was why I said that word.
Yeah, no. But when I was anorexic,
yes, exactly.
I couldn't move because I didn't have the energy to move, and I wasn't eating carbs or whatever.
Your bones were probably fragile. Yeah.
Like my hair was thin. Yeah. Like I didn't have my period. Yeah. Like, and so when she said that, I was like, where was this comment 15 years ago? What the fuck? But also like fat is a mentality.
100%.
And so in the 3rd grade is when like the fat indoctrination started, the fear of fat. I was never fat.
In the 3rd grade?
I was 8, yeah.
But wait, your body didn't start changing in 3rd grade?
My nipples got like puffy, you know, and like I sort of like, I guess I was sort of pear-shaped, but I had like thin legs. Like I look at myself now and I was like, I was just a baby. It's so fucking sad.
Yeah.
But like, that's when they're like, she shouldn't be eating that. If she wants to be better, she needs to lose weight, blah, blah, blah. And so then that's when like the push and pull between me and my mom started, where it was like, I would be relegated to something healthy, and then my brothers would have mac and cheese, and she'd look away, and I'd try to like eat mac and cheese off my brother's plate, and she'd be like, Paulina, like, why are we paying for skating if you're gonna do that? You know, like,
yeah.
And so
it's interesting too. I think our generation, she's a little bit older than me, but not that much.
Yeah.
Rules are rules. And if the rule is you don't eat mac and cheese, then you don't eat mac and cheese. And if you're going to skate, then you're going to follow the rules and everything. Why I totally understand that mindset of do it all the way or don't do it at all.
Right.
Which is actually not healthy. But that's definitely the way that I think often. And it's why I stopped writing. Because if I can't sit down and write all day long uninterrupted, like I used to before I had kids, then I'm not writing.
Oh, we got to get you writing again.
I took a UCLA extension class where I had to write 750 words a week.
Wow.
And I freaking loved it.
Yeah.
Because I would say, well, 750 words I can write. Yeah. But that's not what I was writing before. What I was writing before is screenplays. Yeah. So you just write and write and write while you're inspired.
Yeah.
And then I did the same thing where I was like, well, if you can't just sit down and do it the way you want, then you're just not doing it.
Yeah.
One of the two. So not saying your mom was necessarily right or wrong in her thinking, but I relate to it. I think it may be our generation a little bit.
Yeah.
Who our parents said, if, it's, what was the saying? if it's worth doing, it's worth doing right.
Interesting.
That was like a saying.
Yeah. Well, as you were saying, sort of like how the culture sort of influences the parent, and like in that rank, ice skating is a very expensive sport.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Like incredibly expensive. Like either like you were so rich you had a private jet, or your parents were mortgaging the house so that they could pay for your skating lessons, and like everything was put on this.
Yeah.
And like I don't have a private jet, but like I fell into that tier.
Yeah.
And so we were able to sort of supply ice skating things without me feeling the impact. But also I did feel the impact because like my mom was very conscious of how much we were spending.
Right.
And so
that probably made you feel bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know, it's interesting though, because it's like I was talking to my dad about it, I was like, I feel like there's like no middle class ice skaters. And then we were able to like identify somebody, but she was very talented. And she came from a family that like prioritized like specialized skill. Like her mom was an opera singer. They were Canadian. Like they had a Canadian like approach to things.
Right.
But also she was very good. Like I think when it comes to and usually the people who are of a lower socioeconomic class, like they're first generation. And so they come from immigrant families. And so it's kind of like, you're going to go to the Olympics and rise from this.
Right.
And so, you know, it was my passion, but also it wasn't like my vehicle for class ascension.
Or your end goal, because your end goal from, as you said, from 7 was college.
Yeah.
So then let me ask you this. If that is true, and if you were, if that was known, was that known with your parents that you had no interest in going to the Olympics? Or
I thought that I would do Disney on Ice after college. Like it was always this idea. I would be on the Columbia figure skating team. I would do, because my choreographer, when I started skating at Pickwick, was the head choreographer for Disney on Ice.
Oh, okay.
Which is why all my programs look like Disney on Ice programs. So I was basically like training to do Disney on Ice.
Right. And is that something you wanted to do?
I didn't have a self-concept that existed outside of ice skating.
Got it. So you just thought that was the next step, maybe, if you wanted.
Yeah.
So I wonder if a coach probably can't adjust their thinking with a student who isn't interested in the Olympics. You know, if you're not interested in the Olympics, why? You shouldn't compromise your training, but you could also adjust your paradigm a little bit.
Yeah.
I would imagine, to say, let her eat the mac and cheese.
Right.
Let her have a balanced life and maximize her training.
But it's all they've ever eat. Like that's what they were told. And they were like, they've been in ice skating their entire lives.
Yeah.
Like they're hyper body conscious.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
it's almost like a formula. And
absolutely.
You just fulfill the formula.
Yeah. And like, you know, at that point, like 3rd grade, like I wasn't top of the pack. Like I would consistently get 8th place. I loved performing. I would eat an ice cream sundae at Denny's afterwards. And that was like what I wanted. Yeah. You know? But then in the 4th grade, it sort of just like started changing, because it was like, okay, I've been skating now for a few years. Yeah. We're doing this financial investment. That's when the ballet classes started. That's when the fitness classes started. And I remember, and also like ice skating competitions when like, I'm a triplet, you know, everybody had their spiel. It was like, Jordan's good at math, Douglas plays piano, and Paulina's the ice skater. And so, and I went to the super intense school and I didn't feel smart. And so ice skating was sort of like my artistic outlet.
Sure.
And so in the 4th grade, I hated ballet. I hated ballet.
You did?
Oh my God.
Why?
Because all they would do is tell me how my butt was too big and that I wasn't right, you know? And I had these like intense like Cuban ballerina dance teachers. So like I'm like, you know, now I'm like grateful for that training because I know how to move my body. Yeah. But also like, you know, it's just like nitpicky. Like ballet is so nitpicky.
Perfectionist.
Oh yeah.
You're a perfectionist in a world of perfectionists.
Yeah. And like ballet isn't about like differentiating yourself. It's about fitting in and looking like the mold. And like I was doing group ballet stuff and I like excelled in it, but also I didn't stay in the group stuff very long because we started sort of training for skating. So there was like, I didn't learn how to turn both ways, you know, like I only turned that way.
Right.
But I have a memory of being strapped into the front seat of my mom's SUV crying for the whole hour of my ballet lesson because I didn't want to do it. And her still having to pay for it because technically we were there.
Yeah.
And coming home and her like storming up to her side of the house and being like, you can quit. I don't care. Like, we could have a beach house. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, do what you want to do. And like my dad was sitting with me at the base of the stairs, and I remember him being like, do you want to quit? And like at that point he was like touring colleges and Loveline and all this stuff. And so like he wasn't home a lot. And so I understood that if I quit, I wouldn't have something that was mine, and I wouldn't have something that differentiated myself, and I wouldn't have something that brought him home. And because ice skating competitions, when my grandparents would come and my brothers would come, and it was like all about me.
Right.
And so.
And you didn't see any alternative.
No, like, I wasn't good at anything.
I could pick
I wasn't
up archery.
smart.
And,
no.
You know, I mean, you know what I mean.
Yeah, no. I didn't have any other skill, so I thought.
Right.
Meanwhile, I'm writing in my diary like my list of crushes that it's rotating every single day. Like writing through all of this, right?
Right.
And so that's kind of like when I think like my childhood depression started. And so
fascinating. It's really, really fascinating to me because it's so, you know, you look at, there's so many athletes in high school when you go to Georgia's played so many sports in high school that you see the athletes you know have been in this since they were 5. And you can tell that part of why most of them are in it has to do with how they feel valued at home. Whether that's perceived or real doesn't really matter. I mean, they may be valued 100% at home, but they perceive that it's only because they're good at softball.
Yeah.
But it is amazing to watch that kid process the game and what the game means to that kid as opposed to my kid who I go, play softball, play golf, play lacrosse. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I'm going to be in the bleachers and I'll bring the snacks.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't really care because my kid never found anything that really just kind of she latched onto.
Yeah.
But there were some kids on her softball team where I'd go, that kid's good, and that kid believes that's the only reason they're loved. And that's so sad because it's probably not true.
Yeah.
But as a child, that, you know, it's like a child believing 100% that their parents' divorce is their fault.
Yeah.
It's not. It never is. But boy, you really do believe that it is.
Yeah.
And if it's not all your fault, it's mostly.
Yeah.
And your perception as a child informs so much of your self-esteem, I think, and how you feel about your place in the world and who you are and what value you are in the world and in your family, which is most of your world.
Yeah.
That I don't like that for you. And I know that your parents love you.
For sure.
And there was none, I mean, your parents would never have wanted you to feel that way.
No. I mean, none of it was intentional.
Of course not. No, but I mean, it sucks for you that that's how you felt.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting though, because at school, you know, my 4th grade teacher was telling me that I was never going to make it in my school, you know, that I wasn't smart, blah, blah, blah.
I had a teacher tell her that too. I'd be really concerned. I'd look into a special school and I was like, what? No, she's smarter than the smart kid here. She just can't read like he does.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well, I said that to my brother recently. I was like, well, I don't know if I should say her name. Everybody who went to my school knows who it is.
So-and-so.
The mean 4th grade teacher.
The mean 4th grade teacher. Mrs. Meanie.
Mrs. Meanie Poopy Butt.
Yes. Poopy Butthole. Mrs. Meanie Poopy Butthole.
That's her name. Don't wear it
love
out.
it.
But I was telling my brother, I was like, oh yeah, well, Mrs. Meanie Poopy Butthole said that I was never going to make it. And Douglas was like, they said that to us too.
No way.
And I was like, how is it that we're literally triplets and each one of us is being told that we aren't going to make it.
Right.
But we all don't know that the other, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
that Mrs. Poopy Butthole is saying that to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
She is a poopy butthole. That is interesting that the three of you never compared notes, so to speak.
Never.
And like you just said, one's really good at math and she's telling him that.
I think they had a different teacher that year, but at different points they had been told that at the school.
I don't like that school either.
I know, it's intense. It's super intense. I'm so grateful for my education, but I'm still working through the trauma of that school. Education, it's a gift and a curse.
I know, right? Double-edged sword.
So, and I also was only ever told I was pretty. Like I wasn't told I was smart. And so it was a lot of like external, like about what I looked like
and
from
what
very
you
young.
do.
Right.
You're
The way I
ice skating.
perform.
Right. That's what I mean. Performance better.
Yeah. And so 5th grade, continued to skate. 6th grade, that's when like the turning point started. We talked about this a little bit. Like I was bullied for a week. I was like shunned by the 6th grade class. And I'd been very popular in elementary school. I was a little bratty. I was like I was the sun and everyone was in my orbit, you know?
Right.
Like I recently opened my diary and it's just like, I was like, you needed to get bullied. You deserved this.
I don't know about that, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, I was just like, ooh.
You were 10 feet tall and bulletproof.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I went to my mom and I said, I think I need to go to a therapist. I think I'm depressed. And that's when the nutritionist was introduced to my life.
What does nutrition have to do with depression? Why did that happen?
Well, the solution was girls are jealous, and if you're thin, then you'll be fine, kind of thing. And it was also, I mean, I don't know. It was also at the turning point with ice skating as the pressure was mounting. For years, I had, ballet teachers, skating coaches, whatever, be like, don't drink soda, don't do whatever, like, you're gaining weight, blah, blah, blah. And then when I was younger, they didn't say it to me, but they said it to my mom nonstop. And so this nutritionist, my dad sent his patients to her. And that's when my eating disorder started. It was a lifestyle. It wasn't a diet. It was a lifestyle. Meanwhile, I would go in every week. She would weigh me and then she would tell me exactly what to eat when. All non-fat, low fat, no carb. I couldn't even eat avocado because it had too much fat.
Oh my God.
Like it was like highly processed, like
highly processed.
Yeah, it was all like think thin bar, half of a think thin bar or 100-calorie pack, like the early aughts bullshit.
Yes.
Diet culture rampant.
Yeah.
And like this woman who was my nutritionist became like a mother figure to me because my mom would get like anxious about me losing weight or whatever. And at a certain point, my mom wasn't allowed in the office.
Why?
Because she yelled too much.
At you?
At both of us, I guess. I don't remember. I'm
so
excited.
What do you think was going on for Susan in this? I mean, if you don't want to talk about it, it's okay.
No, I'll talk about it.
But what do you think was going on? Because why was she yelling about it?
She gets that way sometimes where it's just like, I mean, I think my dad wasn't home a lot and she was getting a lot of pressure and this one was a lot of money and where were the results? And I ate French fries and I wasn't supposed to eat French fries. And I'd be like, well, I could have a treat meal. She said I could have a treat meal. You know, it was just kind of like her anxiety played out. But that woman didn't want to deal with that. She just wanted the money and to dole out the
formula.
Yeah.
Again, you're in a formula.
Yeah.
That's interesting that everything was so formulaic.
Everything. Control.
Very rigid.
Completely. And that's why I think this is in reaction to that. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, you're fabulous.
I love myself.
What are you talking about?
But like, I refuse, like there is no monolithic answer. And like, I was counting calories. I was like weighing myself. And like, that's
how exhausting.
I was anorexic. I was fully anorexic. And like, I just have this memory. So 6th grade, I lose the weight. I start skating better. Not really. Like I'm so fragile. 7th grade, I was the thinnest I ever was. Like so thin that like you could see like my elbow joints kind of thing.
God.
I saw a video of me skating and it's just like I have like the intention of a personality, but I like you can tell that there's just like no power behind it. And I just remember in 7th grade, like she would have me drink these like 24-gram protein shakes, like vanilla protein shakes from Trader Joe's. And they would be warm and I would like drink them at my locker and all my friends would be like, what are you drinking? I'm like, it has 24 grams of protein and that's more protein than most things have, and like, that's where I lived. And like by the 7th grade, when they tried to bully me again, I was so dissociated that it didn't matter to me. Like I was so numb. And so like, I learned that if I controlled my body, I would feel in control. That like I was impervious to shunning. I was impervious to anything if I looked right. If I was.
And it also made your mother happy.
Mm-hmm.
That's complicated.
Mm-hmm.
As my mom told me I was fat all the time.
Yeah.
And my mom had me eat, I called it macrobiotic, although I don't know that's exactly what it was.
Mm-hmm.
It was all healthy, nothing processed,
Yeah.
no sugar of any kind.
Wow.
No refined sugar, no unrefined sugar, no fast food, my choices for beverage was like a fruit juice, maybe.
Yeah.
And she wasn't trying to regulate my weight. I might have weighed like 60 pounds holding 2 cement blocks. I was the skinniest. My dad used to say, you look like your bones are going to like break off and stick up in you. They're like stick person.
Yeah.
I look at pictures of me now and I was skinny. But I wasn't controlling my food.
Yeah.
I wasn't eating because I was depressed as a child too from being with my mom. I'd go to my dad's house and eat like a vacuum. I'd eat everything that got in my path because I was starving. I didn't want to eat chicken and broccoli again.
Yeah.
Or black-eyed peas and chicken again.
Yeah.
And I wanted something else to eat.
Yeah.
But that control portion is so difficult to get out of.
Well, I was allowed 2 treat meals or 3 treat items a week.
2 treat meals or 3 treat items.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you take the meal, right?
I stopped doing any of them.
Well, I would imagine, yeah.
I felt powerful if I only did 1 treat item. I felt powerful I only did 1 treat meal. And so that's sort of when like I remember I like got food poisoning and I was like, oh, and I lost weight. I got to my goal weight because I had food poisoning. And I was like, oh, okay. Like that's a way to lose weight. And I remember like taking a shower in my mom's shower and just like thinking about vomiting and like regurgitated some steak. And I was like, oh, I can do that. And so that's like when the seed was planted, but like it was full blown anorexia. And it was like, I was going to a specialist every week who was like, you're doing such a good job. I want to do a cookbook and put you on the cover.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Because she had no idea. Because she was out to lunch.
Because she was in her own yo-yo diet cycle.
I was going to say. Yeah.
And like the number on the scale was right.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And
it's so not about that. It really isn't. I weigh 135 pounds, right? Seems pretty low.
Yeah.
Seems like pretty lightweight, but I can feel places on my body that have fat.
Yeah.
Where I go, I mean, if you see they show you the big lump of 5 pounds of fat.
Oh, she had that.
I got to lose like 50 pounds.
Yeah.
But based on my lumps. And I go, that's not true. I'm not losing any weight. I eat a healthy diet. I eat tons of vegetables. I eat really healthy all day and I eat whatever I want for dinner.
Yeah.
And I figure, you know what? To me, if this is what my body does with working out really hard 3 days a week, living a very active lifestyle, I eat a super healthy breakfast. I eat salad with protein every day for lunch, really green, dark, leafy.
Yeah.
And guess what? I had chicken pot pie for dinner.
Yeah.
Guess what? I'm doing pretty good.
Well, it's about how you feel, not how you look.
It is.
Like,
and that number, I walk in and the doctor's like, you're perfect. You're perfect. And I'm like, but I have all this here. Like, and it's definitely, I'm definitely not perfect.
Perfect doesn't exist.
But my point is the number doesn't matter.
Mm-mm.
Because my perfect weight, like for my body to be the right percentage of body fat.
BMI was used to weigh populations of cattle.
What?
Yeah. And the guy who made the calculation was like, don't use this on individual people. And then we based our entire medical system on it.
What?
Yeah. BMI is bullshit. Yeah.
It's another butthole.
It is another butthole.
Another stinky butthole.
Butthole magnet instigator. There we go. But yeah. So I guess I would sort of, like, because I was one of the girls that like had money, I would say that that's in one of the ways in which like my eating disorder was fueled by money, because
why?
Because I was going to this woman every week and I don't know how much my parents were paying her, but they were paying her a pretty penny every week to weigh me and tell me exactly what to eat. And she would give me a list and my nanny would go to the grocery store and buy exactly what she did. And I would do the exact thing, exactly as she said it. And like, there was no room for variance. And I was punishing myself.
Yeah, that sounds very punitive.
I was punishing myself.
Well, but so do you think if you'd never met this nutritionist, you would have never developed an eating disorder? No.
I just think that I got to charade as if I was healthy because someone was a nutritionist, which doesn't mean anything.
No.
And so middle school rolled around, 8th grade, 9th grade, I started high school and I was selected to compete in Switzerland in the Grindelwald Cup.
Wow.
To represent the United States.
Amazing.
I think it's just, I don't know why I got picked. I think I got picked because my family had money and we could pay for it. Like, I really think that's why. I don't think that I was good enough. Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Seriously. Like, I don't, like, it came as a surprise to everybody kind of thing. And basically my freshman year of high school, I like recommitted to losing more weight. I recommitted to training for this thing. And, my mom would rent out ice on Sundays and I would like train extra. Like I was skating like 7 days a week, like something crazy. And meanwhile, I'm like, I'm starting high school. I don't feel like part of my school, but I'm like doing this ice skating thing, whatever. We go to Switzerland and I have like one sort of defining memory, but basically like we got there and my first night there, I couldn't sleep, and so I Skyped my older boyfriend who went to a public school in the middle of the night. And the next day I did the practice ice and I bombed. And my mom was pissed off. She was like, we paid all this money for you to be here and you're Skyping with your boyfriend? Like, what are you doing? And
but that had nothing to do with you bombing.
Well, so then I locked myself in a bathroom and refused to come out. And so my dad was called and I talked to him about it. And then like, it was always like, my dad was always brought in when I was like, sort of like out of control, like couldn't be managed, whatever.
Interesting. I wonder what that said to you. What did that mean?
I think I learned that if I was in crisis, I would get attention.
Okay.
And I think
his attention specifically or attention in general?
I think in general.
In general.
I
think you are not alone in that.
Yeah. And the next day, like my mom bought this, or she like had room service come, this like big breakfast. And like, I was like, I should eat a lot, like before I skate. And I ate so much, I vomited it off the side of the rink.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And meanwhile, I'm taking 2 weeks off of school, my highly competitive school, where we're reading the Bible as a literary text.
Oh my God.
We're learning about the hero's journey, you know, like whatever. And I'm missing school. And before the competition, it was like one of those things where like they have all the skaters come together and they have like a ball, like a sack, and you pick which like your skating number out of a ball or like a sack or whatever. And so we all got dinner afterwards, and it was like all these girls from all over the country, and they were all really competitive skaters. And I remember I was sitting at this long table and we had all eaten our like lean protein, or when like some girls like, I only eat fish on Fridays. Like everybody's talking about their diet, whatever. And there's this one girl who was super thin and I had my eye on her and I was like, I want to be her.
Right.
I want that body. And so I saw on the list berries and cream and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm allowed to have whipped cream. Like I'll have berries and cream. We're all talking. All of a sudden the waiter comes with a bowl of ice cream with berries on it. And like the entire, like everyone stopped breathing.
Oh my God.
Like everyone stopped breathing. And like, I knew it was for me. And I was like, well, I ordered this. And so we're paying for it. But also like, I don't eat ice cream, but also I don't want them to think that I don't eat ice cream. And then so like fucking head games. And I think I ended up eating like a bite of ice cream and then vomiting it up later, of course.
Oh my gosh.
But like this memory of like my coach was like, do you remember the berries and cream? I was like, yeah, I remember the berries and cream. How could I ever forget that? But like, here I am with all my competitors and I accidentally ordered berries and cream and like, it scarred me. It scarred me. It was like, oh, I can never make a mistake like that ever again.
Right.
But it was like, I didn't want to show weakness. I didn't want to show how powerless I was over a bowl of ice cream. And so I competed. I did fine. I think I was like second to last, whatever. Like just the experience of going was like
amazing.
Enough. Yeah. And so when I got back, I decided, okay, I'm serious about ice skating now. Like, let's fucking do this thing. And so then that's when the bulimia started. And that summer, I like during the summers I would train all the time. And that's when I like was with the kids who were all homeschooled. So traditionally, like in like highly competitive figure skating, everyone's homeschooled. Nobody goes to real school.
Really?
Yeah. No. No one goes to real school.
What a lonely life.
Well, get this. It's all little girls who are homeschooled who spend a minimum of 3 hours in the ice rink a day, plus the grown men who are 14 to 22 who are the pair skaters as their sole social life. So there's a lot of young girls hanging around grown guys. And shit happens, but nobody wants to talk about it because there is such a culture of silence in figure skating.
Oh my God.
And so during the summers, I was able to train full time. So I would like skate 2 to 3 hours. And then that summer, that's when I got into cardio bar. So I would do cardio bar every day. God help me. And of course, I just like remember being in cardio bar, like doing these like stupid like exercises where you're just like, you know, whatever. It's like bar, but like better. Bar is eating disorder central as far as I'm concerned. You hate yourself if you do bar is what I think. Sorry, bar, but you know I'm right. And I just remember like getting like I would be competitive with these people who were like just working out around me. And I remember seeing this girl in a bigger body and being like, she just doesn't have the will. Like she doesn't know. Like I have the will and I'm in control and like all this stuff. And so I got good. I got really good. And so I kind of, I would say sort of like the breakdown of the podium was like the Russians and like East Asian immigrants were always at the top. And then I was like the top of the white girls who go to school.
Oh, okay.
So like I could never break like the girl whose mom was a Russian Olympian or the East Asian immigrant, but I could like make it onto the podium.
Right. That's cool.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was insane. It was incredible, but also I wasn't able to sustain it for that long. Because then I started cheer at school.
Oh, okay.
And my sophomore year was sort of like the height of my bulimia. I would skate before school, get up at 6. My mom would drive me, get to school. I did advanced dance during school, and then I had cheer practice after school. And I was doing this on 1,200 calories a day.
Jeez.
And at that point, my childhood nanny would come deliver Zankou chicken to me every day. I would get double meat, double salad, and I would eat half of it, a fistful for lunch, and I would leave it on the senior patio and then eat the second half after cheer.
Wow.
And that's all I ate.
Wow.
And 6 Diet Cokes a day.
Wow.
So
it's just not enough food.
It was dysfunctional. And so basically what happened is like my cheer coach, like not the coach because she hated me, but the head director pulled me aside and was like, you have to pick, because I was in cheer practice and I couldn't dance.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have the physical energy. And that's when I doubled down. I was like, no, I will do it all. And it just like, I was so miserable. Like I was so miserable. But I was so thin. And so people would be like, how do you do it? Like, what are your secrets?
You look amazing.
Yes. Yeah. Seriously. So I'm doling out like these gold nuggets that are actually just like hard turds, you know,
from the butthole.
Yeah. Straight from the
butthole's back.
Yeah. But seriously, like I like had achieved the illusion of perfection, but I was subscribing to the culture of silence, suffering in silence that was prescribed. So that's sort of like the misery, like the height of my misery in figure skating was like that year where it's just like my eating disorder was so out of control, but I was being rewarded for it.
Right. So sad, isn't it? You know, there's so few women who look like Cindy Crawford.
Yeah.
Cindy Crawford looks like that fairly naturally. You know, I don't think she has any kind of eating disorder. I think she works out and keeps herself healthy, but it's just not the norm. I'm the norm.
Yeah.
I work out 3 days a week.
Yeah.
I eat relatively healthy.
Yeah.
But if we're going to In-N-Out for dinner, I'm going to In-N-Out for dinner.
Yeah.
And I'm going to eat fries.
Yeah.
And I do that maybe once every 4 or 5 months. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And this body that I'm in is what that is.
Yeah.
And it's really just a shame that we've done it to ourselves.
Yeah.
As a society, we've said, no, if you don't look like Cindy Crawford, you're garbage. And it's just not true.
I'm so confused now that I'm like, obviously, like, that was when I was 15. So it's like almost 15 years ago. Like, I'm confused by the concept of like worshiping someone else's body and wanting to have it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I saw this Instagram post of this guy who like has freckles all over his face.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, it was like, split cut with this woman who like drew freckles on herself or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like talking about how like, I was ridiculed for my freckles forever.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't you as the viewer appreciate my freckles without taking them from me
or wanting them?
Or wanting them. Like, why is there sort of this like monolithic idea of what is acceptable?
Right.
Because that's constantly shifting.
Yes, it is.
Constantly.
Yes,
like the Kardashians are
right.
taking out all their implants, like they are ready to set a new standard that we all can't reach.
Yeah. A new unreachable standard.
It's true.
That's pretty funny.
It's really true. And even if like you haven't had a full-blown eating disorder, everyone's dabbled with disordered eating.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Everybody.
No one's immune.
No. I'll tell you this. I don't think my dad has.
Yeah?
No. You know what happens in my family was my grandmother cooked and you sat down and ate what she put on the table. She always had a protein and 2 or 3 vegetables and a bread.
Gorgeous.
Every day.
Gorgeous.
And my dad did not ask what's for dinner. He did not complain. And I grew up in her house a little bit too. And that was when I was the most satisfied eating.
Yeah.
Because you sit down and you eat a meat and 3, basically.
Yeah.
And it was, vegetables she grew out of her garden.
Oh.
And meat they grew on their farm.
Wow.
And bread she usually made from scratch.
Gorgeous.
And then you go, well, that's how you're supposed to eat. My dad eats like that to this day. He just sits down and eats whatever's on the table. And whoever's cooking that cooks something relatively, balanced.
Yeah.
Not necessarily always healthy, but balanced at least. So, and nothing was ever portioned huge when I was growing up. My grandmother's hamburgers were like McDonald's tiny cheeseburger.
Yeah.
That's what her hamburger, it wasn't this massive 3rd pound, bison, whatever. It was just a hamburger. There's just, and all those people lived to be 90. And in saying that, my grandmother was always very round. Her body was always very kind of round. I never thought of her as fat though.
Yeah.
I just thought of her as round.
Yeah.
Like soft.
Well,
and
body
round.
diversity, right? Like, again, like, why is there this monolithic standard? Like, why does everybody have to look the same? Like, that is so uninteresting.
It is so uninteresting.
And so, I guess, I want to dial it back and be like, okay, so that's the eating disorder, right? Misery, misery, misery. However, I got results and I started winning and whatever. But within the context of the ice rink, okay, maybe the nutritionist was unusual because people couldn't finance that. But I would walk into the rink and there was this one woman there who I will call Mother Monster. And she had like a crazy, horrible facelift and like thick scars. And like she made her.
Was she someone's mom?
Yeah.
Okay.
She made her income by suing people.
Oh, classy.
So I remember walking to the rink one day and she was like, "How much do you weigh? My daughter weighs this." Literally, as I walked into the ice rink.
Wow.
And she hated my mom. So they like butt heads all the time. But one time when I was in middle school, we had a competition and I had fallen and gotten 8th place and her daughter had gotten 3rd place. And usually it was the opposite. And so I remember walking out of the rink and she was before the double doors and she stopped me. She was like, "Oh, what a shame what happened out there."
What a horrible human.
Then she touches my cheek and she goes, "Well, at least you're still pretty." And then walked away.
God, what a horrible
I was 14.
person. It's a horrible person.
But that's the I, Tanya mom with the parrot, right? Like, that is the standard at the rink. Like, if they're not abusing their kid, they're abusing you. Like, there is a premium of silence because the baseline is disorder.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so, I went out to the parking lot like sobbing. My mom was like, "Where is she?" She was like ready to throw hands, but she had disappeared because of course she had after she said that. And that still to this day is something that I think about. I'm just like, in what universe would you ever speak to a child like that?
None. the universe of ice skating, apparently.
Right. There's such a veneer of silence, which is why, like, when I was trying to pitch pieces about like specific things that were happening, no one wants to pick it up. Because gymnastics can blow up like that, but no one wants ice skating to blow up, especially the people in it.
I'd write it anyway.
I know I need to.
You should write it anyway.
Well, I have an ice skating project.
You do?
Yeah.
You should write about that because it's a world you know intimately.
Yeah.
And that you have the thing about trauma is you help so many people when you share your experience of trauma.
Yeah.
Because there's girls all over the United States that are ice skaters that are experiencing the same thing.
There's 180,000 plus figure skaters in the 2021 season. Register with USFSA.
So many people and how many people you could help by just writing about your experience.
Yeah.
And what you've learned from it. I mean, what would you say you've learned? I always look for that stupid glass half full.
Yeah.
What's the glass half full of it?
I would say I know how to work at a skill until I get good at it.
You definitely do.
I know how to perform. Like my performance training was like Los Angeles Ice Theater. Like that's the one thing I really loved growing up, though that was like its own chaotic experience. But like I got to do The Lion King, Cats, Avatar. I was Miss Piggy on Ice. Like I had sort of that team sport and I learned how to emote and I learned how to perform because of that sport. And like performance is something that is so foundational to me. And yeah, I learned how to show up and like refine a skill. And like, I mean, obviously I have perfectionistic tendencies, but also like, I know I know what drive feels like.
Yeah, that's really a gift.
Yeah.
That's a gift.
Like
many people don't know what drive is.
Yeah.
Drive is so important.
Yeah.
And being a doer is really important. You know, some people just are not doers. They were never made to do, or they never chose to become a doer.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this actually about Georgia. I'm very proud of Georgia because Bert and I required always. You have to be involved in one thing extracurricularly.
Good.
It can be debate team. It can be the play. It can be a sport. It can be, you have to be involved in something that represents your school as a whole in some manner. Like there's no play competitions, but you represent the whole school when you're in the school play. I don't mean the ping pong club that meets, because it's fun to be in the ping pong club. You're not representing the school in any way. You're just meeting with like-minded ping pong players and having a good time.
Yeah.
So she's always chosen to do a sport, and she's never been afraid to try something new. And we've always said, if you start it, you have to finish it. Non-negotiable.
Suit up, show up.
You may hate it. You may suck at it. You may get injured, but you'll sit on the bench.
Yeah.
You have to be a person of your word. And she's really done that. Isla has too, actually, but her first year in high school was in the pandemic. So she was at home. She couldn't commit to anything.
Aww.
So she did everything she was supposed to do for golf. And she's planning on possibly playing golf again next year. And she wants to try lacrosse. And I'm like, great. But so many people don't have that see it till it's finished mentality. Yeah. And you definitely learned that from ice skating.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean.
And how to lose.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's okay. So this last Olympics, when this, I don't know how, like tiny girl got the Russian was discovered to be doping with a heart medicine.
Yes, I heard it. Yeah.
And they didn't eliminate her because they were worried about her mental health.
Yes, I do not understand.
I hate when people weaponize mental health in like the worst way possible.
Yeah, I don't understand. That was so very wrong.
And so she skated and bombed because of course she's like not even 15 and the whole world wants her. Like who knows what she experienced?
Right? Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah.
And that podium when she bombed was the most quintessential figure skating thing I've ever seen on live television.
Really?
Where the girl in second place is screaming, I don't want to see this. It should have been me. It should have been me. The third place girl, the Japanese girl, is like sobbing, just like thankful for the opportunity, like can't believe she placed. And the girl on top is like dissociating. And I experienced that. And I think because when I came to the sport, like, first of all, I didn't have the Olympic aspiration. I was like, maybe I'll tour with Disney on Ice after I graduate college. But I knew how to lose gracefully.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I ever cried when I lost, but I would watch these girls freak out when they lost, and it didn't make sense to me.
Right.
I was like, this is just a Valencia ice competition. Like,
get yourself together.
Yeah.
We're just in Valencia.
But it's like the pressure, right?
Yeah.
And so when I was 16, there's this competition called Showcase, and it's an artistic competition. So you have like your free skate, which is like your short and your long, and that's like the thing that you compete with all summer. But Showcase was an artistic competition. So that's when you were, at that point you were allowed, it was a 6.0 system. That's when you were allowed to skate to songs with words.
Okay.
And now they're in the IGS system, and I think they have people skate with words because the artistry is gone. But that's just my opinion. My loaded opinion. People are going to be like, there's still artistry. And I'm like, okay, you tell me that. You take the words out and see if it's still interesting. That's my hot take. So Showcase was the competition every year that I looked forward to, because they would rent out spotlights. And it was just about fun. And it was like, it would kick off the summer season, and I just loved it. That's like the videos that I've been posting.
I was going to say, that's what I've seen.
But that's like what I loved.
Your Elvis. You had one with Elvis, I saw, right?
That was my first Elvis program. There's
awesome.
another one.
Well, you have to post it.
I will. But there's a reason I only play those videos, because like I have way more competition videos than that, but they don't bring me joy.
Right.
And so when I was 16, I won the whole competition.
Amazing.
But my best friend was supposed to win and got second place, and basically bullied me out of the sport.
What?
Yeah.
The best friend you started with when you were 5?
No. This was a different
new
one.
Best friend.
This was another girl who like was an ice theater best friend.
Wait, she bullied you out of the sport? How did she do that?
So that summer, Showcase happened. That Monday, everyone in the rink stopped talking to me. So it was like the same thing again, where it was like, oh, is it 6th grade all over again? Like, no one will talk to me. And so I'm spending my whole summer in the rink, 3 hours a day, and no one will talk to me because she didn't win. And when I first got sober and I started EMDR, she commented on one of my ice skating videos. She doesn't follow me. And it was like, lulz, nice pee. Haven't spoken to her in 11 years. And
she says what?
Lulz, nice pee.
What does that mean?
That she's 14 and is trying to show.
Lulz, I don't know what that
LOL,
means.
but with a Z.
Oh, LLZ. Got it. Sorry, I don't speak the vernacular.
Yeah, no, no one does. That's from like 2009. No one says lulz anymore. And anger, all the anger that I starved out of me and like vomited up was like, why are you, what? Yeah. I was like, we haven't spoken in 11 years and you don't even follow me. Like, and then I did EMDR the next day and it just like erupted. Like all this anger, like that I never got to express because I was so numb and I was just trying to survive, happening 11 years later.
Wow.
And I'm sure she is a fine adult. Yeah. However, like that comment shows me that she's the exact same person. Because if she was actually cognizant of what she had done, where's my apology? Because then the terror continued. And I don't need to go into it because then it's just like, I don't want to be in that. But like, I did ice theater that year. Basically, she threatened to leave an hour before we were competing to fly home on her private jet with like the 3 other people. And that's when I was like, I can't do this sport anymore. I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I can't be around these people anymore. Yeah. Like, I was 17 and everybody on the team was 12 and the 19-year-old threatened to leave on her private jet an hour before we were supposed to compete. And I was like, I'm going to college. Yeah. I'm going to college. Yeah. And so
sounds so toxic.
It was so toxic.
Of it sounds so toxic.
It was so
the nutritionist,
toxic.
Even some of the stuff with your mom was not healthy. I don't know if your mom would have been in that space had you not been in that sport.
Yeah.
You know, the sport sounds like required any mom to be this kind of like.
My mom looked sane in that space.
Yeah, yeah.
Meanwhile, she's sending me to the nutritionist and having me, you know, get out. Like this dressmaker would come out every 6 weeks and I would get measured in a fucking hotel room in Burbank every 6 to 7 weeks to get fitted for the dresses that my mom helped design. And then, you know, like, it was just like, I wasn't my own person.
Right, right.
I was a puppet.
Yeah.
I was the product. I was the one that was getting on the ice. And yes, it was all in service of me, but also at the same time, like, I was fine landing in 8th place and eating ice cream sundaes at Denny's.
Right.
You know, and it just, and I guess to sort of like take it back and be like, okay, yeah, this was like, obviously, like, I didn't address this for 11 years because it was so deeply painful.
Yeah, completely.
Like, so it was torture.
Yeah.
But the thing is like, for whatever reason, I'm back on the ice and like, I'm falling in love with the sensation again.
That's awesome.
And I went back to Valencia, which is a rink that I would go to like once or twice a week because it was like empty ice. And I saw childhood friends. One of them did the Snoopy ice show at Knott's Berry Farm, and then the other one did Disney on Ice and was like an aerial silk artist.
Very cool.
And we were able to like make dark eating disorder jokes and like talk about everything, and you know, this is after like my first week at EMDR, and so it was like I was trying not to like, I don't know, not be angry, just like kind of process it or whatever. But I just kept saying to them, I was like, this conversation couldn't have happened 10 years ago.
Right. No.
And they were like, no. And I was like, we were all suffering in the exact same way. And like part of what happened with that girl who like threatened to take everybody an hour before we were supposed to perform is like, people chose her. People chose her to coach her. People chose to be her friend. And I felt unprotected. Like I went into that rink and I was isolated.
Right.
I didn't have friends anymore.
Right.
Like, oh God. When you said that a couple podcasts back, you were like, I see a sadness in you. Like, this is the sadness. Like, this is like the deep sadness.
Aww.
Because it was like something that I loved so much.
Yeah.
And I like let someone rob me of that joy. Both like, I can easily say, oh, she bullied me out of the sport, right? But it's like, I was destroying myself.
Yes, you were.
And I was at the hands of people who were specialists telling me that this was healthy. And I was suffering.
Yeah.
I was suffering.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what's so devastating is like, I didn't understand how I was suffering until I got sober.
Sure.
Because the last 11 years.
Hold on. Until you got sober, which was just now.
Which was 108 days ago.
So you didn't realize all of this suffering?
I couldn't access these memories.
Are you kidding?
No.
Wow. No wonder you're tired.
Yeah.
It's exhausting.
Yeah. I like couldn't go to the ice rink. I couldn't step into the rink. I couldn't talk to people from the ice rink because I pretended it didn't happen.
Wow. That's some trauma.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a serious trauma. That's what trauma victims do is they bury. You bury stuff. It's not all of them. I buried my date rape, buried it deep, had no idea it happened. And then one day I was sitting in a movie theater watching some stupid movie, like nothing that had anything to do with any kind of trauma. And I just got flooded with memory and went, oh, I turned to my friend and went, we have to leave right now. I have to tell you everything that's coming to my brain or I'm going to bury it again. It's just going to go right back down. So good for you for opening it up. Fucking sucks when you open that up. It
EMDR,
sucks.
I'm telling you, EMDR, because like all those memories are stored in my limbic system and they are unprocessed.
That's so unhealthy for you.
Oh, it's why I drink and smoke every day. Like I stopped throwing up and then I had to numb out by drinking and then I had to numb out by smoking. And
now you rip the Band-Aid off. And so we've got open sores everywhere. Bless your little heart. That whole world sounds absolutely terrible. Even though I'm trying to find the glass half full.
The glass half full
and
is
you gave me some of it.
I love like the feeling of like being on the ice. Like I love that feeling.
Yeah.
Like I really do. And it's just like really sad that like I just feel like I was being force fed poison. And even when I spit it out, it like touched my tongue.
Yeah.
You know, and there's so many people who are in that sport who like never have perspective. And like to this day, like I wrote a Instagram comment or whatever that like kind of alluded to this girl and people still go to bat for this girl, even though she systematically bullied me out of the sport and she did that to a lot of people. And I can't help but be like, is it because she has money? She was one of the few people that had money.
Why would it be about that?
Because
everybody in the sport has to have money.
But a lot of people don't. I don't know. And I'm not going to comment on that and whatever because I'm obviously in a public forum and I shouldn't be like
Well, nobody knows, or I have no idea who you're talking about.
Yeah.
There's no way I could know who you're talking about, but I know that type of person. There's always the type of person. I've experienced some stuff with a person like that, not in such a large scale, not on like a sport that I dedicated my whole life to,
Yeah.
not like that. But I've had that happen in a wedding
Mm.
where I was the maid of honor.
Yeah.
And the bride Zilla became bride fucking Zilla and then turned everyone against me and I was shut out. And I was like, okay, well, this feels horrible. And at the same time, I am happy to leave. And
Well, that's what it
happy
ended
to
up
go.
being.
Yeah.
Is like, I was always going to go to college.
yeah.
And, you know, it's sad because like my final competition, we went to Vegas and I locked myself in a bathroom again.
Mm,
And my coach saw it and she was like, we don't do this.
Mm.
She was like, you have worked too hard for this. Like, you need to go out there and skate. And I did.
mhm.
She was like, you didn't even skate that bad. But I have no memory of that competition.
No.
Like, repressed it because I was so
Wow.
dissociated and so like traumatized
Mhm.
by all of that like I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And
You just don't know.
I
You
don't
just
know what
kind of
happened.
Went through it to get through it, sort of.
And, you know, I pretty much quit before my senior year of high school. And then I had a leadership position. And then I was the lead of the musical. Like, you know, I obviously I'm high achieving. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And so I
yeah.
was able to sort of move on. But like, this is like such a like oozy, like
Yeah.
weeping wound. And
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
that I'm not alone
Yeah.
for a lot of
No,
figure
you're not.
skaters.
You need to write about this.
I know.
You don't get somebody else's permission, please. Don't write it for whatever your motivation is to pitch it to people and have them say yes. No. You give yourself permission to write about this in the nastiest, deepest, ugliest way for nobody but you. Do you know, I was talking to Kelly, who wrote this book about forgiveness, because she's writing her second book now about forgiveness
Wow.
and how to apologize.
Yeah.
And you know, when I really started forgiving my mom is when I wrote every nasty, stinky, horrible thought, experience, acceptance I'd had regarding her on paper.
Yeah.
I burned it because it was for me to get it out of my body. I think you need to write about ice skating, and maybe not all of it is public.
Yeah.
Maybe only what is appropriate is public, but you need to write about all of it.
Yeah.
Because you have a lot. You are sitting on so much. As you're talking today, I see sadness, but I see so much anger. Really angry. And angry protects sadness. I think
Yeah.
anger is the protective monster that's in front of this deep loss and grief and shame. And
I mean, I was told I was fat every day.
no.
Like, I was told you gain weight on your face and behind your thighs. I was told when I looked thinner. I was told when I was every single day.
No.
Every
You
day.
have to forgive the people who did that to you. You do. That they own you still. And you have to forgive them.
Yeah.
And you have to forgive your mom for looking
Yeah.
at that baby and saying, I'm giving you everything I didn't have, and it going awry somehow. She would never want you to be damaged in the way that you feel damaged in this moment. She would never want that for you. You have to forgive her for that too, because she was trying in her own way to do exactly that, give you everything that she never had. And you can't fault somebody for that.
Yeah.
The method and the incidences and the nutritionist and the quote bad choices or damaging behaviors that happened that came from her, you know, it came from a deeper place of love.
Yeah.
And you have to forgive her for that too.
I mostly just feel what hurts me most is like people went to that nutritionist on my recommendation. And so it's like,
well, then you have to forgive yourself for that.
I just like, it's just so sad.
Well, you have to forgive yourself for that. You do. You can't blame yourself for that. You only functioning with what you knew at that moment. And you know what? To be honest with you, other people's paths are their paths. And They didn't have to take your advice. They didn't have to go listen to her. They could have gone and listened to her and gone, she's crazy, and I'm moving on.
Yeah.
You can't. I had a box of tissue in here because I made Kelly cry the other day too, and it's totally gone. Holston, what happened to it? Do you know?
Watch me cry.
I totally made Kelly cry too, and I gave her the box, and now I'm so sorry. I don't know where it is, but yeah, forgiveness. Maybe that's your next hurdle.
Well, 12-step, baby. Like,
Is it in the 12
I'm working
steps?
on my resentments right now. Yeah. So this is like,
Resentments are poison. Man, they are just poison.
well, they take you out.
They're poison. There's a great quote that says resentment is like you taking
Yeah, give me that toilet paper.
Resentment is like you
Thank
drinking
you.
poison, expecting the other person to die.
I say that all the time.
It's not a waste of time. It's a roadmap.
Anger is a map. Julia Cameron says that.
It is. It tells you where you need to bless and find gratitude, forgive. And forgiveness is super hard. You know, the first thing I did when I started forgiving my mom, was write the nasty. Write just the shit.
Well, this is the thing, is like, I don't feel resentment towards my mom. Like, and I think because I started writing about it.
Right.
And like, albeit in a very public way, like intense, but like,
look at it again.
Yeah.
Write it in a private way.
Well, the ice skating context is missing. That's what's missing.
Oh,
is like,
okay.
People are like, Dr. Drew's wife is evil. And it's like,
no,
girl,
she's not.
She's just a symptom of a larger disease. Like,
no, Dr.
Ice
Drew's
skating
wife
is a sick sport. And like, this is said with love. Like, I dedicated my life to that sport.
Totally.
And it's like, I couldn't even talk about it.
Right.
I couldn't talk about it until
recently.
now.
Yeah. 11 years. That's insane. So I'd revisit that with your mom, with resentment within the sport, within what you experienced. Because listen, whether it's true or not, like I was talking about before, perception being very real for a child. You know, my kids used to say, we're scared of mom. She yells at us all the time. And I'm like, I don't ever yell at you. I talk like this. You call this yelling? Honey, if I yell at you, you're going to know it.
Yeah.
But their perception is that I'm yelling at you.
Yeah.
I can't possibly know or understand their perception until they tell me. And then I go, okay, I don't feel like I'm yelling, but they feel like I'm yelling.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to just at least be aware of that and say, I'm yelling now and I'm yelling for a reason, or saying, I don't mean to be yelling.
Yeah.
Sorry if it sounds like that. Let me calm myself down.
Yeah.
Right. So when you can look at your perception of what this was as a child and be angry at your mom for your perception. That doesn't mean your perception was the truth, but it was your experience.
Yeah.
So if you can hold the both, like I have this mom who did the best she could. And it was, you know, for the most part, she was a great mom. She's flawed like every mom on this planet, and she didn't get it right all the time. And then in this other hand my mother sucked. She was terrible.
Yeah.
She was damaging. She was part of the problem, or whatever it is your perception is.
Yeah.
And then you can start letting that go, you know, because I feel, and I may be totally wrong, but I feel like you do have a lot with your mom that is angry where this is concerned.
I mean, always, but I think I spent the last 10 years, like,
we don't want to be mad at our mom.
No.
Nobody ever wants to be mad at their mom.
No. But I've been in therapy now for 11, 12 years. And like, I got to be angry. Like, I got to be angry at her. And like,
but not through ice skating.
No, not yet.
That's the thing. I think that's the next layer.
Yeah.
As we live through life, we're never finished.
Yeah.
Ever. All of a sudden, a Band-Aid gets ripped off. Listen, I called my grandmother. She's passed away. God rest her soul. But I called my grandmother, and she said to me, she had listened to a podcast, a chosen podcast. My mother chose a specific podcast to let my grandmother hear. Where I was talking negatively about my mom. Shows it to her mother, and I call my grandmother just to say hi and check in, and she goes, shame on you. Shame on you for talking about your mother that way. Shame on you. And I didn't even know what she was referring to. I was a child in seconds. I was sobbing, driving down the street, sobbing.
That's what's been happening to me.
I've always, my whole life, felt like that comment. Shame on you for walking this earth. Shame on you for being born. Shame on you for ruining your mother's life. My mother told me so many times, I would have been A, B, C if not for you. I would have had this career if not for you. I would have had this husband if not for you. None of it's true, by the way. But when you're a child and you're being told that, you accept it because that's your mother saying, you ruined my life. And then my grandmother said, shame on you. I'm telling you, I was sobbing. I was on my way to therapy.
Oh my God.
When this phone call happened.
Thank God.
Hung up the phone, called Bert and said, everything's okay. Sobbing. And I just got to therapy and I was like, it's amazing. You think that you've healed yourself. And the simplest moment with this person who meant so much to you as a child can wreck everything for the moment. It wasn't wrecked forever. But for that moment, I was a disaster.
Yeah.
And I was exactly probably 5 or 6 years old.
Yeah.
And you're never done. As much as you get, quote, done, you're still not done.
Yeah.
And it'll show up in the most bizarre places sometimes. And if you don't allow that to be okay, then it's just going to stick in your body. I sobbed. I talked to my therapist about it. I was upset, not joking, for probably 2 or 3 months over that comment. It really threw me for a loop because I don't feel shame. I'm not ashamed of who I am or of anything I've done. But clearly there's some nonverbal feelings that I can't even articulate that she said, shame on you.
Yeah.
Hey, shame on you. And I just went, blah. Yeah. Shame on me's right.
I think you're right that the anger masks sadness, and this girl who bullied me is an easy target, right? Because she's
totally.
Obviously a symptom of a larger cultural problem in figure skating.
Yes.
But also like what's been part of it is like anger at her, anger at myself, anger at this sport, anger at the people who told me I was fat every day, anger at like just the way in which like my friends were my enemies and my competitors and my friends were also my friends, and how, you know, I would, if she had won, I would have been there for her.
Totally. There's no trust. There's
no compassion.
No trust. Yeah,
and just like I didn't have boundaries because I was boundaryless. People were, I didn't make choices for myself. I didn't get
that's a behavior that's modeled. That's a learned behavior. Making boundaries is not an inherent.
I wouldn't say my mom's the queen at boundaries.
Knowledge. You have to learn to do that.
Well, now I am.
Knitting is a learned behavior. It's sort of the same. It sounds stupid, but setting a boundary is something that you learn.
It's a skill.
100%. Yeah. So
I guess I just feel sad that, I mean, I needed to leave the rink. You know what I mean? I'm glad I was technically part of the Columbia Figure Skating Club, but I never actually went because the girl my freshman year who was ended up being the president of the Figure Skating Club would knock on my door every Friday and try to get me to the rink, and I would never answer.
Couldn't do it.
I couldn't do it. And so I played rugby. I did student musical theater. I did sketch comedy. And then I went to Second City. And then I got my MFA. You know, like, my life grew in so many more ways because I left the rink. And forever I could say, oh yeah, she's the reason I left the rink because she bullied me. But I would have left anyways. Yeah. And like, what's devastating to me is that I let her rob me of the joy of the sport.
Well, see, you just said something that if you will invest in that, it will take your power back. You said, I left the rink. If I hadn't let her leave the rink, but the truth is I left the rink. So if you'll hitch your wagon up to that, you'll get all your power back. You're giving your power to this person. And it's not true. It's inaccurate.
Yeah.
It's inaccurate.
I just felt so powerless to her and the ways in which people orbited around her.
Fuck that bitch.
Getting to go in her fucking private jet.
No, fuck that bitch. Who needs her?
Because I had been picked once too. You know?
Oh, come on.
But people show you who they are, and
they
how they
do.
treat other people is how they will
100%.
inevitably treat you.
100%
And I didn't learn that then. I had to learn it over and over and over
Nobody
and over.
knows that at that age.
Yeah.
Nobody knows that at that age. That is also a learned thing.
Yeah.
You have to learn that. But yeah, you hitch up to
I left.
Look at what I did instead.
Yeah.
Look at what you did instead. It's so powerful. Who goes to Second City? Nobody. Nobody does that and accomplishes that. That's what you hitch your wagon up to. And you let the dirt fall off the wheels. Just let it fall off.
Shit makes daisies grow tall.
They sure do.
I was rewatching that video of how you were talking about health requires honesty. And when you said that, I wasn't being honest. I was being honest about my eating disorder, but I was not being honest about my substance abuse. And it's interesting how you can think you're being honest when you're not actually being honest.
Well, that's another part of the growth process where it's layered, where you sometimes I think if you're on the path of trying to be the best person, if you can't heal everything all at one time, your body can't physically heal 18 injuries at the same speed at the same time. Like if you had 18 different cuts on your body, one or two of them would heal faster than the other ones. I think God or the universe, whatever you want to say, gives you what you can handle when you can handle it. Because if it gave you everything, you wouldn't be able to handle it.
Yeah.
So another thing you have to forgive yourself for is when you're ready to be honest and be okay with your lack of honesty, because it's not from a deceptive. Thank you. You're not trying to be a bad person. You're not hiding something purposefully.
I hadn't acknowledged it in myself.
Exactly. So then for that, there's automatic forgiveness of yourself for not seeing it. If you're really on this path, if you really are on this path of loving yourself, then you cannot choose punitive thoughts. You have to choose to think of yourself all the time like 5-year-old Paulina, who got on the ice and just loved it. That's who you have to think of yourself as all the time. And what would you do for that 5-year-old Paulina if she said those things to you?
Oh, man.
You would say,
what do you want to skate to? And let's get a kick-ass costume.
Fucking right on.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm writing a one-woman ice show.
Amazing. That's amazing.
I'll tell you the name off camera because I don't want someone to steal it, but it's fucking good.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
So I think
that's going to be so fun.
Mm-hmm.
A one-woman ice show.
So I'm getting in shape so I can do it. So I can talk and ice skate at the same time.
Good luck, buddy. I bet that's hard.
Yeah.
I don't know how you ice skate and breathe. That's very exciting.
So I'm letting the anger fuel my art.
Do that and then love it. Love it all the way to the ice, right? There's so much love to be had for your journey, not for the noise of the journey. But if you look at who you are today, you can't have any perspective but gratitude.
I do. I really do.
I know you do. So you've just had such a dynamic life and so much to give from all of this pain. You know?
Yeah.
That's why God gave it to you. It wasn't for you to put it in a jar and put it on a shelf. It wasn't for you to suffer either. I don't believe that God wants us to suffer. I don't believe that. I believe that suffering is part of the human experience. And part of your job as a human is to make sense of it and to have it inspire you and move you to help other people.
And that's all I'm ever trying to do.
I know that. It's obvious in everything you do with your writing workshops and all the things you write about in your newsletter. I mean, how could anyone misconstrue your newsletter as anything other than trying to help people? Our shared experience on this planet is the most healing thing on this planet. So if I can't share my deepest, darkest secrets, fears, rages, failures, then I'm not doing my job here as a human. I don't mean in a public forum. I mean in general. If I can't share those things with my children and have them come to some deeper understanding about life or people or themselves or compassion, then what are we doing? It's just all selfish, self-serving bullshit that gets us nowhere.
Yeah.
So I applaud you for everything you're doing to share who you are and your journey. And your journey is not just to be suffered through. It's to be healed through and shared so that you inspire other people to heal through and share their trauma.
Thank you. That's all I'm ever trying to do.
You are doing that.
Because I just refuse to suffer in silence.
You should not. No one should. No one on this planet should.
I did for so long.
I know you did. And it's not necessary. And you thought it was. You believed somewhere. I'm saying what you believe. I think.
Say it.
I think that you believed somewhere that you did not deserve something.
I didn't think I was worthy of anything.
Exactly. It's a lie.
And I feel like I felt that until I got sober. And I'm working on learning how to feel worthy of love and respect and compassion and trust and having my boundaries respected because I wasn't taught that.
Right.
And I know I'm not alone.
No, you're not. All that other bullshit's the devil. It's the devil. And I'm not even religious, but I mean, you know what I mean? It's Satan. Satan in your soul when he starts saying you suck and you're shit and you should beat yourself up because you're not 1 pound and all that's just...
you aren't disappearing.
It's the darkness. Yeah. Call it whatever you want. It is the opposite of love. And love is all that matters. It's all that
love
matters.
Is an ethic. Bell hooks.
Have you read all about ethic? That's great. I love that. Love is an ethic.
Have you read All About Love by Bell Hooks?
Not.
All right. I'm going to get you that book.
So many books.
So many books.
So many books. I love you so much.
I love you.
I feel like I found a niece I didn't know I had.
I know.
I really do.
I love you so much.
I love you too.
I have to tell you, like that conversation where we had, like where you said, like health requires honesty. Like every time we have a conversation, I walk away and I think about it and I do something about it. And I just like, I feel so much gratitude to be able to share this space with you and to be able to speak with you and learn from you because I just like.
Well, I learn from you just as much, just so you know. And I'm in awe of you because it's so amazing to watch someone transform right before your eyes. To see someone transform is a privilege and a gift to me. And if you don't think I'm learning from you as much as you're learning from me, you're dead wrong. I learned so much from our conversations.
Thank you.
I love perspectives that are not my own because that just grows my own perspective.
Yeah.
So thank you for being so open with everything. You're like an open book.
I am. I hid behind a perfect veneer, a perfect 122-pound veneer for years. And I hated myself. And it's only in being radically honest and seeking recovery in every facet of my life that I love myself. And I love myself so much that I'm not willing to put myself in a dangerous position anymore.
Good.
Whether that's with people, whether that's places, whatever it is. Like, I respect myself. And that took a long, long time.
You were not alone. As you were saying, I was thinking, love can't find you if you're hiding.
Oh. I'm going to get that as a tramp stamp tattoo.
Right? It can't find you if you're hiding.
I love
that.
You
can't hide. And you have to trust. I think what people get so scared of in general is, at least I was, and I had a very wise person say to me, it was my therapist in New York when I was in my 20s. He said, you take pretty good care of yourself. I said, yeah. And he said, so why are you scared that you won't take care of yourself with all these scary things? Letting someone love you. You'll take care of yourself. Letting someone take care of you. You'll still take care of yourself. You're so capable that you should never doubt your ability to take care of yourself, even when it's awfully hard. You'll still get it done. He told me that in my 20s, and I went, you know what? You're absolutely right. I always take care of myself. So then there's nothing I can't do. Same with you. Nothing you can't do. Because you always take care of yourself. You know, the truth of life is there's only one person who will take care of you. And that's you. That's right. Doesn't mean you can't share things with other people. But at the end of the day, if you rely on other people to take care of you in that deep kind of visceral, like internal way, it never works. It has to come from you. And then you can share that with someone else or with the world.
And that's what I'm trying to do now.
You're doing it. You're not trying. Take trying out. I don't like trying. You are doing that. I am doing that. Hitch up to that wagon also.
I will.
I am doing
that.
it. You are doing it. You see how different your whole posture changed. Your posture changed. Trying is a little too humble for this journey.
Yeah.
Trying's too humble for this journey. This journey takes a warrior, and you are fighting fucking full force. So own it. You are doing it. There's no try. Jedi says, right? There's either do or do not. No try.
Oh my God, Elizabeth Holmes had that in her office. Have
She
you watched
did?
The Dropout? Oh my God, my dad and I have been watching The Dropout.
I have not.
That's worth watching. But thank you.
Thank you, sweetheart. I'm so proud of you. Thanks for coming back and talking about ice skating. I know it was very difficult.
No, I feel lighter.
Good.
Yeah, thank you.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I just hope, I don't know, it's going to be interesting to see how the figure skating community reacts to this because, like, obviously I haven't been in it for 11 years.
Yeah.
But I just want to say, like, you're not alone. And it may feel like you are, but you're not.
Right.
And the most brave thing you can do is put voice to what's happening.
Yeah. That's right.
Don't pretend it doesn't exist. Because it does.
The triple axel has happened.
It will haunt you 11 years later if you don't deal with it now.
That is true of everything, not just ice skating.
Yeah.
This culture you talked about in ice skating, just take the word ice skating out of it and replace it with gymnastics, with competitive like concert pianists.
Horseback riding.
Horseback riding, yes. Softball.
Yeah.
You see them bitches at the softball field? It's insanity. I would sit at the softball field and go, hold on. You play morning and night 7 days a week all fucking summer?
Yeah.
Are you out of your mind? It's 180 degrees.
Yeah.
It's the exact temperature of the sun in the valley.
Yeah.
And your kids are playing softball in 2 leagues.
Jeez.
Traveling. It happens everywhere, Paulina. It's not just ice skating. Your message is true for that community, but it's true for every community. Soccer. Come on.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah. Crazy's everywhere.
Boy, is it.
Love can't find you if you're hiding.
Oh. Take off my shirt.
I love you, Paulina.
I love you.
Next
Thank
time.
you.
Next
Yes.
time.
Next time. Oh,
next
yeah.
time. Whatever it is next
Whatever
time.
it is, I'll be here.
Okay. Sounds
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you.